Two households, both alike in dignity. A love story so powerful, it defied fate and ended in tragedy. This is the full tale of Romeo and Juliet, Shakespeare's most iconic tragedy, broken down act by act. Love, hate, passion, betrayal. It all begins with a sword fight.
Welcome to the deep dive. We're cracking open a classic today, plunging into the later acts of a story that's, well, echoed through time.
Definitely.
We've pulled together a stack of source material for this, deep dive excerpts focused on the turning points and the tragic end of a very famous tale about two young people from feuding families in Verona.
Right.
That includes character lists, the prologue, and specific scenes we'll be looking at.
And our mission with these sources really is to trace the escalating conflict, the desperate choices, and the cruel twists of timing and fate that lead to a truly heartbreaking conclusion. We're going to try and chart the course of sorrow, using only the details and dialogue provided in the text you've shared with us.
Think of it as using the script itself as our map, right?
Yeah.
Guiding us through the moments where everything begins to, well, unravel.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this. The sources set the stage immediately in Verona, describing two households, both alike in dignity, locked in an ancient grudge that's broken into new mutiny.
Yeah, that famous opening. And it mentions civil blood makes civil hands unclean. Straight away, you know it's violent.
And the text tells us the scene is Verona, and later, crucially, Mantua. That becomes important.
Very important. And the character list introduces the key players. You've got the elder Capulets and Montagues, embodying the feud, their children Romeo and Juliet, caught right in the middle.
Then there's the prince, trying to keep peace, Mercutio, his kinsman, and Romeo's friend Tybalt, Juliet's hot-headed cousin.
Very hot-headed. Friar Lawrence, the sort of well-meaning helper, the nurse, Juliet's loyal attendant, and then Paris, another of the prince's kinsmen who wants to marry Juliet.
Right. These are the people whose actions and fates, as shown right here in the text, will drive the whole tragedy. And, even before Juliet appears, the sources show Romeo feeling pretty low.
Yeah.
He's adding to more clouds with his deep sighs over Rosaline.
Yeah, he's got this whole unrequited love thing going on. He describes it as something where he feel no love in this, and notes she hath Diane's wit.
Meaning, like the goddess Diana, she's sworn off love, sworn off marriage.
Right. So Romeo is already kind of dramatically inclined, shall we say, even before the main story kicks off. Then comes the Capulet feast.
And the sources give us this great, ironic detail. A servant who can't read is sent out with the guest list.
He can't read the names.
Exactly. And he accidentally bumps into Romeo and Benvolio, inviting them to the party if they aren't Montagues. Which, of course, they are.
Classic setup. And Capulet himself, ironically, seems quite welcoming at the feast, saying, "Welcome, gentlemen." Such a contrast to the underlying hate simmering there.
And that's when Romeo sees Juliet. The text gives us his immediate, almost overwhelming reaction. "Did my heart love till now? For I ne'er saw true beauty till this night."
It's instant, total shift for him. But the danger is right there just as fast.
Oh, yeah. Tybalt's there, and he hears Romeo's voice.
This, by his voice, should be a Montague. He wants his sword right away, ready to kill him on the spot.
But Capulet stops him, says, "Content thee, gentle coz, let him alone. I would not, here in my house, do him disparagement." Protects the guest, sort of.
He does. He forces Tybalt to stand down, but Tybalt's clearly furious about it. He mutters that this forced patience will convert to bitter gall.
And you can just feel that simmering in the sources. You know it's going to boil over later.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Romeo and Juliet have this intense first conversation. They share a kiss, and only then do they find out who the other one is.
From the rival houses, yeah.
And Juliet's reaction in the text just sums up the core conflict instantly. "My only love sprung from my only hate. Too early seen unknown and known too late." Bam! Sets the stage for everything.
This takes us right into the secret beginnings of their love, starting with the famous balcony scene.
Right. Romeo is hiding in the garden, reflecting on love, saying he jests at scars that never felt a wound. And then Juliet appears up at her window.
Her speech there is just iconic, questioning the very thing that separates them. "Oh, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? What's in a name?"
That which we call a rose, by any other name would smell as sweet. Such a powerful idea. She's basically saying she'd give up her name if he'd give up his.
He reveals himself, and the sources show how, well, incredibly rapidly their vows are exchanged.
So fast. He asks if she loves him. She says yes, but she does voice a concern, doesn't she? That it's Too rash, too unadvised, too sudden.
She does, but he wants a faithful vow, and she tells him she gave thee mine before thou didst request it. It's already done in her heart.
It's just incredibly fast-paced. They make plans right then and there to get married the very next day. She'll send a messenger by the hour of 9.
And that beautiful, painful line at the end of that scene, parting is such sweet sorrow. This momentum carries Romeo straight from her garden to Friar Lawrence's cell, like immediately.
The friar is genuinely surprised to see him so early, especially given his history with Rosaline. He observes that young men's love then lies not truly in their hearts, but in their eyes.
A bit cynical, maybe?
Well, realistic, perhaps, given Romeo's track record. He's amazed Romeo has seemingly forgot that name and that name's woe so quickly.
Romeo doesn't waste any time. He asks the friar point blank to consent to marry us today.
And the source reveals the friar's motivation for agreeing to something so hasty and, frankly, risky. It's his hope that this marriage may so happy prove to turn your household's rancor to pure love.
He sees it as a potential solution to the feud, a big gamble.
Huge gamble. But he also voices that clear caution that echoes throughout the whole story. Wisely and slow, they stumble that run fast. The text shows he gets the danger of their speed, even as he agrees to help.
And then the nurse becomes the key messenger, the link between them.
Right. While this is happening, Mercutio and Benvolio are looking for Romeo, and they mention that Tybalt hath sent a letter, clearly a challenge.
Ah, that letter. We know what that means.
Yeah. And Mercutio's character, as shown in the sources, he's just full of this witty, often pretty body language.
Yeah.
He mocks Romeo's love sickness, calls him without his roe like a dried herring. Funny but cutting.
And when the nurse shows up looking for Romeo, Mercutio just teases her relentlessly, calls her a bawd. A bawd.
He really lays into her. The nurse's servant, Peter, he kind of hesitantly offers to defend her, saying he dares to draw if I see occasion in a good quarrel, and the law on my side. It's this mix of tension and dark humor.
Romeo finally pulls the nurse aside and gives her the crucial instructions for Juliet. Come to one. Friar Lawrence's cell, be shrived and married that very afternoon.
And he also arranges for the cords made like a tackled stair to get up to Juliet's room for their wedding night. Practical planning amidst the romance.
The source then cuts back to Juliet, waiting in her room, just full of anticipation and getting so impatient waiting for the nurse.
Oh, she's climbing the walls.
She's frustrated by the nurse's delaying tactics, saying, "Chizu, what haste? Do you not stay a while? Do you not see that I am out of breath? You feel her anxiety?"
But finally, the nurse delivers the news, confirms the marriage plan is actually happening today.
This secret joy, though, it's incredibly short-lived. The text pivots really sharply to the streets of Verona, bringing us to the play's major turning point: violence.
Yeah, things escalate fast. Benvolio was already worried because the day is hot, the Capulets abroad. If we meet, we shall not escape a brawl. He sees it coming.
And Mercutio, true to form, is just argumentative, looking for trouble almost.
Then Tybalt enters, specifically looking for Romeo.
Romeo. Mercutio confronts him, baits him really, and then Romeo arrives. But this is Romeo after he's just secretly married Juliet, Tybalt's cousin.
So his whole perspective has changed. He tries desperately to diffuse the situation, telling Tybalt, the reason that I have to love thee better than thou canst devise, till thou shalt know the reason of my love. He's hinting at the marriage without saying it.
Trying to keep the peace, but Mercutio just doesn't get it, or maybe he refuses to accept it. He sees it as weakness.
Exactly. He calls Romeo's attempt at peace, "O calm, dishonorable, vile submission," and draws his sword to fight Tybalt himself.
Romeo tries to intervene, yells, "Hold, friends, friends part," and physically steps between them.
And this intervention is just tragically timed. The source explicitly states Mercutio is fatally wounded under Romeo's arm.
Oh, that detail is crucial.
It is, and his dying words, incredibly significant. He curses both families, "A plague of both your houses. I am sped," directly blaming the feud.
And he asked Romeo, "Why the devil came you between us? I was hurt under your arm," highlighting how Romeo's attempt at peace, his intervention, directly led to his friend's death.
It's devastating. And this loss immediately sends Romeo into a rage. He yells at Tybalt, "Now Tybalt, take the villain back again."
He fights him and kills him, just like that. Vengeance!
Benvolio reports the whole bloody mess to the prince, who arrives on the scene. The prince delivers his judgment. Immediately we do exile him hence. Banishment.
And the prince emphasizes the personal cost for him too, right? "My blood for your rude brawls doth lie a-bleeding," talking about Mercutio, his kinsman.
Yes. And he delivers that powerful line linking love and hate. "A scourge is laid upon your hate." that heaven finds means to kill your joys with love. He sees the young love destroyed by the ancient hate, and now death is the result. Banishment follows.
From this moment, things just spiral faster and faster. Juliet's in her room. She has no idea about the fight. She's eagerly anticipating her wedding night. There's that beautiful soliloquy. "Gallop apace, you fiery-footed steeds. Come night, come Romeo."
So much anticipation. Then the nurse arrives, bringing the terrible news, but her delivery is just awful. It's so confusing.
Right, she keeps repeating, "He's dead, he's dead, he's dead." Juliet immediately thinks Romeo is dead.
It's torture for her. When the nurse finally clarifies Tybalt is dead, Romeo is banished. Juliet's reaction focuses entirely on that one word, banished.
The text gives us the weight of that word for her. Romeo is banished. To speak that word is father, mother, Tybalt, Romeo, Juliet, all slain, all dead. It's like the end of the world for her.
It is. The nurse offers to find Romeo for her, which is Juliet's only bit of comfort in that moment.
Meanwhile, Romeo is hiding out at Friar Lawrence's cell, and his reaction to banishment is just as extreme as Juliet's, if not more so.
Absolutely. The friar tries to frame it positively, calls it a gentler judgment, not body's death, but body's banishment, trying to find a silver lining.
But Romeo sees it as worse than death itself. He says, "There is no world without Verona walls, but purgatory, torture, hell itself." He compares banishment to cutting off his head with a golden axe.
He even envies the flies, saying they're free to touch Juliet when he can't. It's intense despair.
And in this despair, the text shows him drawing his sword, actually threatening to kill himself to sack the hateful mansion of his name, the Montague name that's caused all this trouble.
Friar Lawrence has to step in, gives him this lengthy lecture, really chiding him for acting less than a man, saying, "Art thou a man? Thy form cries out thou art." Tells him he shamps thy shape, thy love, thy wit.
Tries to snap him out of it.
Yeah. Then the nurse arrives, confirms Juliet's equally deep grief, saying, "Even so lies she, blubbering and weeping." That news seems to break through Romeo's despair a bit.
And the friar quickly comes up with a plan, a risky plan.
Very risky. The plan, as the friar lays it out in the source, is for Romeo to go to Juliet that night, spend their wedding night together, then flee to Mantua before dawn.
And wait there.
Wait there till we can find a time to blaze your marriage, reconcile your friends, beg pardon of the prince, and call thee back. It's a plan that relies heavily on time, opportunity, and things calming down.
Okay, so there's a plan, some hope. But while Romeo is secretly with Juliet that night back at the Capulet house, another decision is being made that completely changes the game.
Right. Paris is still pursuing Juliet, and Capulet decides a sudden marriage is the perfect way to stop the inundation of her tears after Tybalt's death. He thinks she's grieving Tybalt that much.
He totally misunderstands her grief, so he makes this desperate tender of her love to Paris.
And Capulet assures Paris he thinks Juliet will be ruled in all respects by me. Nay, more, I doubt it not. It really highlights his patriarchal control in the text. He assumes her obedience.
And he sets the wedding for Thursday, just like that. A potential future marriage becomes immediate, forced.
Yeah. This decision, born from his misunderstanding, is such a critical link in the chain. It removes all the time Friar Lawrence's plan needed.
The next morning after their wedding night, Romeo and Juliet have this heartbreaking farewell scene. It's beautifully captured in the source.
Oh, it's painful. Juliet tries to pretend the morning lark is the nightingale, saying, "Wilt thou be gone? It is not yet near day. It was the nightingale and not the lark," just desperate to hold on to him.
And they both have these ominous feelings as Romeo leaves. Juliet says he looks as one dead in the bottom of a tomb.
And he says she looks pale too. Then Lady Capulet enters, still believing Juliet's tears are for Tybalt.
And Juliet uses that clever, chilling doublespeak she sends to her mother. "Indeed, I never shall be satisfied with Romeo till I behold him dead. Is my poor heart so for a kinsman vexed?"
Her mother hears her wishing Romeo dead. But Juliet means her heart is dead until she sees Romeo alive. It's masterful wording, but dangerous.
Lady Capulet then drops the bombshell. Juliet is to marry Paris on Thursday, and she adds, chillingly, her plan to send someone to Mantua to poison Romeo, saying he shall give him such an unaccustomed dram that he shall soon keep Tybalt company.
Just brutal. Then Capulet enters, expecting obedience, and Juliet refuses point blank to marry Paris. "Now by St. Peter's Church, ye shall not make me there a joyful bride. I will not marry yet, and when I do, it shall be Romeo."
Wow, That's the first time she really defies him directly like that in the text.
It is. And Capulet's reaction, as written in the sources, is absolutely furious, viciously abusive.
He calls her terrible names. Out, you green sickness-carrying. Out, you bagged, you tallow face. Just horrible.
And threatens to disown her completely, states, and you be not, hang, beg, starve, die in the streets. Total rejection if she doesn't obey.
Lady Capulet's only response in the text is a shocked, "Fie, what are you, mad?" She doesn't defend Juliet.
No. So Juliet, desperate, abandoned by her parents, turns to the nurse, asks, "Oh God, oh nurse, how shall this be prevented?" Looking for her last ally.
But the nurse gives her this very practical but just devastating advice. Marry Paris, forget Romeo.
Yeah, she dismisses Romeo completely, says Romeo's a dish clout to him. I think you're happy in the second match. Essentially, move on, this is a better deal.
For Juliet, this is the ultimate betrayal. She calls the nurse ancient damnation, almost wicked fiend. The sources showed this is the moment Juliet realizes she is utterly, completely alone.
No support left. So she knows she has to seek help elsewhere. She decides to go to Lawrence's cell to make confession and to be absolved. But her real purpose, as the text shows, is to find a way out of this forced marriage, or a way to die.
That desperation leads her to Friar Lawrence's cell, and who does she find there but Paris, already making arrangements?
Yeah, awkward. He addresses her confidently as his lady and my wife. Julia gives him only these veiled, evasive responses like, "That may be, sir, when I may be a wife." She's walking a tightrope.
After Paris leaves, her despair just floods out. She tells the friar, "Oh, shut the door. Come weep with me, past hope, past cure, past help." She pulls out a knife.
Right, she's ready to kill herself right there if he can't help. She says, "Twixt my extremes and me this bloody knife shall play the empire." The source shows she's absolutely at her breaking point.
Seeing this, her absolute desperation, the friar proposes his most dangerous, intricate plan yet.
The potion plan, he tells her. Go home, pretend to be happy, be merry, give consent to marry Paris. Then, alone in her room, drink this potion he gives her.
And this potion will do what exactly according to the friar?
According to him, it will make her appear dead. Stop her pulse, make her cold, pale for 4 and 20 hours, he says. 42 hours, actually, in the text.
Okay, 42 hours, and the rest of the plan.
She'll be buried in the family tomb. He'll send a letter to Romeo in Mantua explaining everything. Romeo and the friar will then be there in the tomb when she wakes up, and they'll sneak her away.
It's incredibly high stakes, relies on perfect timing, perfect communication. So many things could go wrong.
Exactly. Julie goes home and, following the plan, tells her father she repents her disobedient opposition and is now ever ruled by him. Pretends to submit.
Capulet is overjoyed by this apparent submission, says, "My heart is wondrous light. Since this same wayward girl is so reclaimed," he completely buys it.
And in his excitement, the text shows Capulet makes another change that is critically disruptive to the friar's careful timing.
What does he do?
He impulsively moves the wedding forward again to Wednesday morning instead of Thursday.
Oh no, that cuts out a whole day.
Exactly. Lady Capulet expresses concern about the short notice. We shall be short in our provision, but Capulet just dismisses it, saying, "Tush, I will stir about. I'll go to bed tonight. Let me alone." He's caught up in the moment. This speeds up the timeline dramatically.
So that night, Juliet is alone in her room preparing to take the potion. She sends the nurse and her mother away. "I pray that you leave me to myself tonight."
And in this powerful soliloquy, the sources really show us the depth of her fears as she contemplates drinking it.
What is she afraid of?
Well, first, what if it doesn't work? She thinks, shall I be married then tomorrow morning? And the text knows she has her dagger ready. This shall forbid it. So suicide is still plan B.
Okay, what else?
Then she wonders, what if the friar actually poisoned her? What if it be a poison, lest in this marriage he should be dishonored? To cover his tracks, maybe?
Does she believe that?
She dismisses it pretty quickly, reminding herself, he hath still been tried a holy man. She trusts him, ultimately.
Her greatest fear, though, as shown in the text, seems to be waking up too early in the tomb, before Romeo gets there.
Exactly. Waking up alone in that vault. She envisions being stifled in the vault, surrounded by loathsome smells, the bones of her ancestors.
It's horrifying.
It escalates. She imagines the ancient receptacle, seeing bloody Tybalt, lies festering nearby. She fears hearing shrieks like mandrakes, going mad from the terror.
And madly play with my forefather's joints. That line is chilling.
It is. Or pulling Tybalt from his shroud. She even hallucinates seeing Tybalt's ghost, seeking Romeo before she finally drinks the potion, dedicating it to Romeo. "Romeo, Romeo, Romeo, here's a drink, I drink to thee." And she drinks.
Wow. The next morning, the Capulet house is bustling. Wedding preparations are in full swing.
Yeah, the text shows Capulet's been up all night overseeing things. There's even that brief, almost darkly comic bit with the servants. The mood is supposed to be festive.
Paris arrives with musicians ready for his wedding. Capulet sends the nurse to wake Juliet. Go waken Juliet, go and trim her up.
And the nurse enters the chamber and discovers her seemingly dead. Cries out, "She's dead, deceased, she's dead."
The sources depict the family's grief as overwhelming, right? Capulet says, death lies on her like an untimely frost upon the sweetest flower.
And declares, "Death is my son-in-law, death is my heir." Paris mourns his lost bride, lamenting, "Have I thought long to see this morning's face, and doth it give me such a sight as this?" It seems genuine grief from all of them.
Friar Lawrence arrives then, knowing the truth, but plays along, asking if the bride is ready.
He offers that sort of standard comfort, saying she is advanced above the clouds as high as heaven itself, implying she's better off in heaven. He says heaven keeps his part in eternal life. It's meant to soothe, but knowing the truth makes it feel complicated.
And the wedding preparations are tragically switched to funeral arrangements. Capulet states, our bridal flowers serve for a buried corse, and all things change them to the contrary.
The source even includes that brief, jarring scene with Peter arguing with the musicians about playing sad music, dumps, versus happy tunes. It's this weird note of dark here amidst the sorrow, highlighting the sudden reversal.
And this whole sequence of events brings us to the final tragic climax. We cut back to Mantua, where Romeo is completely unaware of the friar's plan.
Right. And ironically, he's actually feeling hopeful. He tells us about a dream he had. "I dreamt my lady came and found me dead, and breathed such life with kisses in my lips that I revived." He thinks it predicts good news.
Oh, the irony is just crushing, knowing what's actually happened.
It's brutal. Then Balthazar, Romeo's servant, arrives straight from Verona.
And Balthazar only knows part of the story.
Exactly. He delivers the news as he understands it, which is that Juliet is dead and buried. He tells Romeo her body sleeps in Capel's monument, and her immortal part with angels lives. I saw her laid low in her kindred's vault. He saw the funeral.
Romeo's reaction is immediate, and it's pure defiance. Is it even so? Then I defy you, stars. He blames fate, destiny.
And he instantly resolves to return to Verona and die with Juliet. His intention is clear. "Well, Juliet, I will lie with thee tonight."
So he seeks out an apothecary. The text specifically notes the man's poverty.
Right, noting this penury. Romeo uses that poverty to convince the apothecary to sell him a deadly poison, even though it's illegal in Mantua, punishable by death.
How does he convince him?
He argues the world and its laws haven't been kind to the apothecary, that poverty is already a kind of slow death, so why obey the law? The world is not thy friend, nor the world's law. He calls the poison a cordial, a comforting drink, intending to use it at Juliet's grave.
Meanwhile, back in Verona, the friar's crucial plan is completely falling apart.
Utterly. Friar Lawrence meets Friar John, the messenger he sent to Mantua, with a letter explaining the potion plan.
And the letter didn't get there.
No. Friar John explains why. He was quarantined. While trying to find another friar to accompany him, they were suspected of being in a house with the infectious pestilence. The plague and health officials sealed up the doors and would not let us forth.
So he couldn't leave Verona. The letter never even left the city.
Never delivered. Friar Lawrence immediately grasps the disaster. Unhappy fortune, that neglecting it may do much danger. He knows Juliet will wake soon.
What does he plan to do?
He realizes he must get to the tomb alone now. He plans to hide Juliet in his cell and try to write to Romeo again. But the text really emphasizes the role of accident. Here, a plague scare, a quarantine completely derailing everything, bad luck on a catastrophic scale.
And at the Capulet tomb, all these threads are about to converge. Paris arrives first.
Yes, with his page. He comes to mourn Juliet privately, strewing flowers on her tomb, calling her sweet flower. He tells his page to keep watch for anyone coming.
Then Romeo arrives with Balthazar.
Right. Romeo has tools to open the tomb and the poison. He gives Balthazar a letter for his father, implicitly a suicide note, and tells Balthazar to leave, threatening him with death if he comes back or spies on him.
Does Balthazar leave?
He pretends to, but the text says he hides nearby instead. Concerned, probably.
Romeo forces open the tomb, calls it a "thou detestable maw, thou womb of death." He's determined to get inside.
And Paris sees him. Paris assumes Romeo, the banished enemy who killed Tybalt, is there to desecrate the tomb. Here has come to do some villainous shame to the dead bodies, fueled by grief and the feud. He decides, I will apprehend him.
So Paris confronts Romeo. Stop thy unhallowed toil, vile Montague, thou must die.
Romeo pleads with him to leave. He doesn't want more bloodshed. Good, gentle youth, tempt not a desperate man. Put not another sin upon my head by urging me to fury. Oh, gone. He recognizes Paris as maybe another victim here.
But Paris refuses. They fight.
And Romeo kills Paris. As Paris is dying, he asks Romeo to lay him in the tomb with Juliet. Romeo agrees, recognizing him as a fellow unfortunate.
Romeo then turns to Juliet's body inside the tomb, and the sources give us that heartbreaking detail. He notices her beauty is still preserved.
Yes, he says, beauty's ensign yet is crimson in thy lips and in thy cheeks. She doesn't look dead because, of course, the potion is just wearing off. He's moments too early, or maybe moments too late.
He doesn't realize.
No idea. He speaks his final words, addresses the poison. Oh, true apothecary, thy drugs are quick. Thus with a kiss I die. He drinks the poison, kisses Juliet, and dies beside her, just as she's about to wake up.
Friar Lawrence arrives then, too late.
Way too late. He sees the blood, the swords, what mean these masterless and gory swords, enters the tomb, finds Paris and Romeo dead, and just then, Juliet stirs.
She wakes up.
She wakes up, finds the friar there, asks him, "Oh, comfortable friar, where's my lord?" She sees Romeo isn't there with him.
What does the friar do?
He hears the watch approaching, panics, and tries to get her to leave immediately. A noise that scared me from the tomb? He wants her out of there.
But Juliet sees Romeo dead, and Paris too. She realizes what's happened.
She finds Romeo's empty poison vial, laments, "O churl, drunk all and left no friendly drop for her." She kisses him, hoping maybe there's still poison on his lips, noting tragically, "Thy lips are warm." He just died.
The timing is just excruciating.
It is. Hearing the watch getting closer, she sees Romeo's dagger. Her last words in the text are to the dagger. "O happy dagger, this is thy sheath." She stabs herself and falls onto Romeo's body.
The watch arrives seconds later. Find this scene of carnage, Paris, Romeo, Juliet, all dead.
They immediately call the prince, the Capulets, and Lord Montague. And the tragedy keeps piling up. Montague arrives and reports that his wife, Lady Montague, has also died.
From what?
From grief over Romeo's exile. Montague says, "My wife is dead tonight. Grief of my son's exile hath stopped her breath." Another victim of the whole chain of events.
So the prince demands answers. Friar Lawrence, Balthazar, Paris's page are all brought forward.
The friar confesses everything. The text gives his summary. The secret marriage, Romeo's banishment, the forced marriage plan, the sleeping potion, the undelivered letter. Friar John was stayed by accident, arriving to find them dead. Juliet waking and refusing to leave, killing herself. He also confirms the nurse knew about the marriage.
Balthazar confirms his part, bringing Romeo the news of Juliet's apparent death, giving the prince Romeo's letter. Paris's page confirms seeing Romeo fight Paris.
And Romeo's letter, read by the prince, corroborates the friar's story completely. It says he did buy a poison, came to this vault to die and lie with Juliet. No doubt left about what happened.
The prince looks at the bodies, looks at the families, and just lays the blame squarely on the feud, doesn't he?
Directly. He tells them, "See what a scourge is laid upon your hate, that heaven finds means to kill your joys with love." He connects the hate directly to the loss of their children, their joys.
And he includes himself in the blame, too.
He does. "And I, for winking at your discords too, have lost a brace of kinsmen." Mercutio in Paris. He admits his failure to stop them sooner meant everyone is punished. All are punished.
And the source shows that this immense tragedy, the sight of their dead children, finally forces the families to reconcile.
Finally, Capulet reaches out. "Oh, brother Montague, give me thy hand." Montague vows to raise a statue of Juliet in pure gold. Capulet says Romeo's will be just as rich beside hers. The feud ends, but look at the cost.
Unbearable. The prince's final words in the text just hammer home the sorrow. "A glooming peace this morning with it brings, for never was a story of more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo."
And he leaves it slightly open, noting some involved might be pardoned, some punished. A sense of grief hangs over everything.
Wow. Walking through the sources like this, step by step, it really just lays bare the relentless chain of events, doesn't it?
It really does.
You see the secret marriage, then boom, the fatal duel erupting from that ingrained family hate, the banishment, the parents' decision to force a marriage, completely messing up the timeline.
Right, escalating everything.
The desperate potion plan relying on perfect timing, and then that absolutely crucial accidental failure of the message, the plague quarantine.
That tiny random event.
Every single element from the text just seems to click into place, leading inevitably to that final moment in the tomb.
What's so powerful here, I think, is how the sources emphasize the tragic irony and the role of timing and miscommunication. Almost every step of the way, you see characters making choices, yes, but within the terrible constraints of their world in this feud.
And external accidents, bad luck.
Exactly. Bad luck and misunderstandings just compound those choices with devastating speed. A missed message here, a hasty decision there.
It just brutally highlights the heavy, destructive cost of that deep-seated hate presented in the text. Just like the prologue warned, it ultimately consumes the children's love and their lives.
And when we look closely at the sources, we can really trace how various characters contribute to the final outcome. The parents' unwavering hate and those sudden reactive decisions.
Like Capulet moving up the wedding, twice.
Right. The nurse's turn from trusted confidant to, well, pragmatic betrayer in Juliet's eyes. Friar Lawrence's incredibly risky plan, born of good intentions, but just so fragile.
Mercutio's temper kicking things off, Tybalt's relentless vengefulness demanding satisfaction.
They all play a part, as depicted right here in the text. It's a convergence.
This deep dive into these specific moments from the text really shows how incredibly fragile even a well-intentioned plan can be. When it's up against that much hatred, volatile personalities, sheer bad luck, and failed communication. It all unravels with such devastating speed, based purely on the sequence of events presented. So, thinking about charting this exact course of sorrow, pulling only from these sources, what does it suggest to you about the power of those external circumstances versus the actual choices the individuals make when they're caught in the middle of something like this? Where does the balance lie based on what we see here?